Okay, so let's cut through all the noise. You've probably heard a ton about a new BRICS coin, right? Well, forget that for a minute. The real story, the one we're going to dive into, is so much bigger. We're talking about the deep tech, the actual nuts and bolts of a new global payment system that could literally change everything.
But first, let me just ask you something. Doesn't it seem kind of crazy that in a world where you can send a message to the other side of the planet instantly, sending money still takes days? It feels like sending a package by boat, right? Well, that delay, that old school clunkiness, is exactly the problem this whole new BRICS architecture is built to fix.
All right, so that brings us right to the core of the problem, what we're calling the global financial bottleneck. We're going to break down all the delays, the hidden costs, and the very real risks of the system the world has been relying on for the last 50 years or so.
So on the left, you've got the world we live in now. Your money basically has to take a bunch of connecting flights through these things called correspondent banks, many of which are in New York. They talk to each other using an old messaging system called SWIFT. And just like connecting flights, every stop adds time, it adds fees, and it adds risk. And the big one, because it's all centralized, it's a single point of pressure for things like sanctions. Now look to the right. That's the new vision: fast, cheap, and totally independent.
And this is where a lot of people get it twisted. It's all about currency versus digital plumbing, the myth versus the reality. See, the conversation isn't really about some shiny new coin. It's about ripping out the old, rusty pipes and laying down a completely new foundation.
Look, the real story here is absolutely not a new BRICS coin. Sure, they've talked about maybe having a common unit for pricing trades, but the main goal isn't to get rid of the money people already use. No, the sources are super clear on this. The real revolution is building a brand new parallel financial highway, a highway where digital versions of existing currencies, the Yuan, the Rupee, the Ruble, can all talk to each other directly with no middlemen. And this quote from the Asia Times just nails it. It says the focus is on developing a BRICS payment system built on interoperable central bank digital currencies. That word interoperable, that is the absolute key. It just means making all these different national digital currencies play nice together. And that is the real end game, both for the tech and, for the geopolitics. All right, let's pop the hood and get into the really cool stuff. We're going inside the BRICS Bridge. This is the technical core. We're going to see how a couple of key technologies, distributed ledgers and something called atomic settlement, are poised to completely change the game. So first things first, what in the world is a CBDC, a central bank digital currency? Now, it's super important to know this is not Bitcoin or some other crypto. It's actually way simpler. Think of it like this. It's just the official digital twin of the cash in your wallet, like a digital dollar or a digital rupee, issued and guaranteed by a country's own central bank.
Okay, next piece of the puzzle. DLT, or Distributed Ledger Technology. This is the bedrock it's all built on. Don't worry about the jargon. Just picture a shared digital notebook. Every time a transaction happens, everyone on the network gets the exact same update in their notebook at the exact same time. And because no one single person owns the notebook, you can't just shut it down. It makes the whole thing incredibly resilient.
And now for the real magic trick. Atomic settlement. You know how in the old system you send the money and then you kind of wait and you hope the other thing comes through? Well, that gap creates risk. Atomic settlement completely erases that gap. It forces the payment and the delivery of the asset to happen in the exact same instant. It is all or nothing. The whole deal either happens perfectly or it doesn't happen at all. There is no risky in between.
And this is so cool, it shows you exactly how it works. Okay. Step 1. The money, let's say some digital yuan and some digital rupees, gets locked on their home country's ledgers. Step 2, a little piece of code, a smart contract, on this bridge checks to make sure both sides actually have the funds ready to go. And then, step 3, this is the magic part. Both ledgers update simultaneously. Boom, done. The risk that you pay but don't get paid back, it's just gone, completely eliminated.
So this table just lays it all out, side by side. The old way, it's centralized, it's slow, and it's stuck with that 2-day settlement delay we talked about. The new BRICS way, it's decentralized, it's nearly instant, and it's sovereign. And that last part is so important. It's built on what they call ring-fenced ledgers, which just means each country stays in 100% control of its own money and its own system. Okay, so we've seen the engine, but how do you actually drive this thing? Well, that brings us to the net worth layer. We're talking about the apps and the messaging systems that people and businesses will actually get to use. Things like BRICS Pay and a new alternative to SWIFT called DCMS. So this is what it might actually look like on your phone. BRICS Pay. Think of it as the friendly app that sits on top of all this complicated tech. To start, they're focusing on things like tourism. So imagine you're a tourist from India visiting Russia. You could just scan a QR code to buy a coffee, and behind the scenes, your Indian payment system is talking directly to the Russian one instantly.
Now, this diagram shows the really clever part of the design. It's based on a principle they call interoperability without integration. That's just a fancy way of saying they're not trying to force every country to use the exact same system. Instead, BRICS Pay acts like a universal translator. It's a hub that lets totally different national systems, like India's UPI and Brazil's Pix, finally understand each other and work together seamlessly.
And holding all of this together is the messaging system, DCMS. This is the direct replacement for SWIFT. And because it's completely decentralized, there's no main office, no central server, it is incredibly tough. There's no single point of failure, there's no off switch. You can't just unplug a country from the network anymore.
So why build all of this? Why go through all this incredible technical trouble? Well, the answer isn't really about tech. It's about geopolitics. The whole point is to build what you could call a sanction-resistant financial fortress. It's all about using this technology to achieve total monetary sovereignty. And here's the blueprint for that fortress. First, you ring-fence the domestic systems, which means every country keeps complete control over its own money. The bridge that connects them all is totally neutral. It doesn't take sides. And because the whole network is decentralized, spread out across different countries, it is, by its very design, built to be sanction-proof.
Now, let's be really clear here. The goal probably isn't to just tear down the existing system overnight. It's more about building a second highway right next to the old one, a viable parallel option. It's about having another way to get things done, which gives these countries a kind of strategic freedom, making sure that business and trade can keep flowing, no matter what's happening out there in the world.
And make no mistake, this is not just some theory on a white paper. This is actually happening. There is a real roadmap. Right now, we're in the phase where they're building out the infrastructure and running the first pilot tests. The next big step is planned for around 2026, when they want to start scaling this up for major business-to-business trade. And by the end of the decade, the goal is to have a kind of plug-and-play system where any new partner country can join the network with ease. So when you put all of these technical pieces together, you're left with a really massive question. And it's not, will the BRICS coin work? No. The real question is this. Is this new digital plumbing, this network of sovereign ledgers connected by a completely neutral bridge, is this the true blueprint for a new multipolar financial world?